What's up, people, and welcome here to my Premier League predictions for Matchday 8 on this video. We are here on Matchday 8 of my Premier League predictions for this weekend, as we have 10 games, the return back after international break from last week, and it's good to return back on TGI Football for my predictions for the Premier League for this weekend. And we'll start things first with the first matchup at 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. It's Nottingham Forest and they take on against Chelsea. Big matchup for Forest and also a big game for Chelsea. For Forest, there's a lot of pressure on Forest since Ange Postecoglou, a lot of pressure on him as a manager since joining Forest. Have not picked up a single win yet in the Premier League, and a lot of pressure is turning on the manager for Forest, and they're playing at home against Chelsea, are in good form, of course. They're in that positions in the top four race, and they're doing a very, very good job. They are, Chelsea, and I feel that this game is going to be very, very maybe difficult for Forest in this matchup due to the fact that Forest have not picked up a single win yet for the last time they actually won a game was way back when they beat Brentford 3-1 way back in August. So in this matchup, as they're playing Chelsea as well, with a top quality team, I think Chelsea will get the result, and I think Chelsea will win against Forest on the weekend. I'm going for Forest 1, Chelsea 3 as a full-time score in my prediction at the City Ground. Now we move on to the next matchup between Brighton Hove Albion and Newcastle United. Big game at the Amex Stadium. We know how big this is in terms of Newcastle and obviously Brighton, as they both are looking for wins, of course, during this matchup on Matchday 8. This will be a very even game, I think. Maybe Newcastle got a little bit more quality comparison to Brighton. But, however, at the same time, Brighton are at home and anything can happen at the Amex Stadium on the weekend. But as of my prediction between Brighton and also Newcastle, I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go goalless and I'm going to go 0-0. No goals at all between Brighton and Newcastle on the weekend. Now we move on to our next matchup, as we do have at Turf Moor Burnley versus Leeds United. Big matchup for the two teams who got from the Premier League the Championship up to the Premier League this season. They are the new teams who got promoted from the Championship will play each other for this match day, as the two new Premier League sides play each other at Turf Moor on the weekend. In my honest prediction, this matchup, I know that Leeds, of course, had, let's say, some hits and misses in terms of results recently. And we know, obviously, Leeds, drawn to Bournemouth. They obviously got themselves a defeat to Tottenham in their last matchup at home. They do obviously have some good, let's say, average form so far this season. They've picked up 8 points already this season in the Premier League. But as of my prediction at Turf Moor, and since Burnley, of course, are going to be up for this game as well in this matchup also on the weekend, I'm going to go for a draw and I'm going to go for 1-1 at Turf Moor. I'm going to go for Burnley 1, Leeds United 1, only because Burnley have got momentum as they're the home team, and Burnley know and understand how Leeds play due to the fact that these two teams played each other together in the Championship from last season. So these two teams know each other very, very well. And I'm going to go for a draw between Leeds and Burnley on Saturday. Now we move on to the next matchup at Selhurst Park Stadium, as Crystal Palace will take on Bournemouth at Selhurst Park Stadium on the weekend. Palace, of course, however, we know how good they really are as a team. They've lost their first game in the Premier League season when Jack Grealish won Everton the game in their last matchup on Matchday 7. And that, my friends, that win was a big loss for Palace, of course, to lose their first game of that Premier League matchup of the whole season. They do play Bournemouth. I've got some good players, some talented players they've got in their squad. If I've got to put a prediction this matchup at Selhurst Park, I'm going to go for a win for Palace, as they got form at home this season. And I think that since losing to Everton in their only defeat of the season. That will probably give them a little bit of boost. And I know Bournemouth, of course, have got a very good team as well. And Andoni Ariola's got a very good pedigree as manager for the Bournemouth team. But I do think Palace will get the sneaky win. And I think that Mateta will be on the score sheet. And I think Palace will win the game 1-0 at Selhurst Park. Now we move on to our next matchup predictions between Manchester City and Everton. Big matchup for both sides, especially for, obviously, Jack Grealish will not be playing on the weekend because he's now obviously loaned from Man City. So he will not be on the team sheet for Everton away from home at the Etihad Stadium. But Man City, however, will definitely want to have some momentum in this game. They probably should win this game on paper. For this moment in time, I think that City will get the result. Everton will probably be a little bit short since Jack Grealish cannot be playing against the club he's actually meant to play for. But since he's been loaned to Everton, he won't be able to play against his parent club in this matchup. So I do think Man City will definitely get the win. And I'm going to go for a 3-0 win. 3-0 to Man City at the Etihad Stadium on the weekend. Now we move on to our next game, as we do have Sunderland playing at home against Wolves. Not doing great, Wolves, this season. They have done okay to get themselves that point, and they are bottom of the Premier League. Even though that, slowly they're making a little bit of progress. Wolves still not getting good results though in the Premiership. But they do play Sunderland though. Are in good form, good spirit they are, Sunderland. And this team have been they say they've been the real proper dark horses of the Premier League so far this season, at the moment, at this time. And I think Sunderland will definitely pick up the 3 points at the Stadium of Light on the weekend. So in my prediction at the Stadium of Light on Saturday, I think Sunderland will win the game 2-1 in my prediction between Sunderland and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now we move on to our next game, 5:30 kickoff. Arsenal, my team Arsenal, will take on Fulham at Craven Cottage on Saturday evening. This will be a very big test for Arsenal. Did very well to beat Newcastle, did very well to beat West Ham in our last matchup. So we have got the form we've got, as we the team should win on paper anyway against Fulham. But at the end of the day, Fulham always get results over my team Arsenal. Every single season, Fulham get something out of Arsenal. And only especially at their home games at Craven Cottage, Fulham get something over us. Personally, my prediction on the weekend, I do think that we will probably... I don't have any faith in this game for some reason. I've got this weird feeling we'll probably end up dropping points or lose on the weekend. I'm not being biased about Arsenal at all. I do understand how we play sometimes against teams like Fulham. So in my personal prediction on the weekend, I'm going to go for a draw, and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between Fulham and Arsenal in my prediction on Matchday 8. Now we move on to our next game, as Spurs will take on Aston Villa at the stadium in Tottenham on Sunday at 2 o'clock kickoff. Villa, of course, getting back into winning ways after a poor start to the season under Unai Emery, and Villa are picking up some real positive points so far since they've really build themselves back into that momentum now to be away from the relegation drop. But they do play Tottenham, however. Spurs, of course, have had some good form also in the Premier League so far. They're in the top 4 at the moment. And we know that Tottenham will probably want to go in this game, of course, with real positive confidence, of course, after the international break. James Maddison will not be able to play because he's now out injured as well. That will be a big blow for Tottenham. But however, Villa, of course, know how to get the job done when it comes to games like this as well. So in my personal prediction on the weekend between Thomas Frank's Spurs and Unai Emery's Aston Villa, I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Aston Villa. And I'm not saying it because I'm anti-Tottenham. I just think that Spurs always Spurs it most times than that. And I think Villa will surprise people and they're going to get the win on the weekend. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for Aston Villa. Now the big game. We are talking about 4:30 kickoff on Sunday. It's Liverpool and they take on against Manchester United. Big matchup, of course, for Liverpool. We know, obviously, how big this game really is for the Liverpool team because they're the team at home. They're the team going to be at it in this game. And I think United, of course, not been great this season so far. Liverpool also not been great, also slightly after losing to Palace, and also did they lose another game? I think they lost another game, didn't they? Or they dropped points in the last matchup. Oh, they lost to Chelsea, didn't they? They lost to Chelsea and they lost to Palace as well. 2 losses straight for Liverpool under Arne Slot. So they're not in very, very good momentum so far, Liverpool. But they're the home team, however, and they should win on paper. So my prediction on the weekend, I'm going to go for Liverpool 2, Manchester United 0. As my official prediction on the weekend, and Liverpool will get back into winning ways over Ruben Alvarez's Manchester United. Megan, I've got no hope whatsoever to get any result against Liverpool on the weekend, so I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for Liverpool. Now we go to our last predictions of the Premier League season, the Premier League Matchday 8 package. We do have a Monday night football game between West Ham United and also Brentford. Obviously the two teams, especially West Ham United, have got to pick up some form. Nuno Espirito Santo's the new manager. They drew 1-1 to Everton. They lost to Arsenal, which you probably expect West Ham to lose in a game like Arsenal in their last matchup of the Premiership. But they've got Nuno Espirito Santo, will definitely lift the West Ham momentum, I think, in this game. As for Brentford as well, they're having their ups and downs slightly. They're not in a relegation fight. They're actually in that bottom half position in the moment in the Premier League. And I do think, for West Ham though, with Nuno Espirito Santo as this is actually his first home game in charge as manager for West Ham on Monday Night Football as a gaffer for West Ham. And I think he'll do well for West Ham. I think he'll keep them up, in my honest prediction, at the end of the season, though, because he's got that momentum what he did at Forest, and also what he did at Wolves as well, what he did before in the past. So, in my personal prediction on the weekend, I'm going to probably go for a 2-0 win for West Ham. I think West Ham will go to the London Stadium with full of confidence, and I think West Ham will get the job done. Nuno's first game as manager at home, it will be a 2-0 victory for the Hammers. That's all we have time for here right now on my predictions on match day 8 of the Premier League. And if you like this video, go and give my video a like, and also subscribe as well if you want more of these predictions every single week of coverage of the Premier League. That's all we have time for. Thank you for watching, and peace out.